Hello again and welcome to Studio C in beautiful West Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. This is video 3 in our series on GameMaker Studio. In this third video, the second time we've created a game from scratch, you're going to create a brick breaker style game. And by the time you're done this game, you're going to have learned enough to kind of be able to leap off and do a little bit of creativity on your own. You have a good feel for all the different things. So I'm going to show you what the game looks like to start with. I'm going to hit the open button. Because many of you haven't done this before, I'm just going to go into my folder and I thought I'd show you the process. And what you end up looking for if you do open up a file that already exists is something called the YYP file. So that's the one that opens up. So we're going to build this thing entirely together in a few minutes, but I'll just let it open up and then I'm going to run. When you watch this run, what you're going to find is that I built in 2 lives into the game. So if I lose twice, the game just ends. I don't have an ending game message, but I do have a win game or a win level method, but we don't have a level. Now, one thing you'll notice on over here is that I have walls, but the walls aren't showing up. I'll show you why here in just a moment. But otherwise, you've got your standard expected, oh, there we go, standard expected bounce action that we used the last time. So this, I hit the key. The key is my one way to win. I'm going to show you another way to win and change levels as well during this video. So it says moving to the next level, clicks OK, and it says no more levels, so you win. So that's the end of the game. If I run it a second time, this time I'll show you the loss scenario. And what I've actually done, the reason those walls don't appear, is I've actually put them outside the room. So they're actually just in the grids outside the room. The other option is you could put things inside the room and make them invisible. It's just a setting in the game action. So there we go. I've lost a life. It restarts the ball again. I like to try to get up top, but no luck on this first couple games. And there we go. I'm going to lose again. 1 lost life, and this is just going to end. Okay, so this is the game we're gonna create. So there's certainly some review from last time and some new stuff. All right, so when I go through and do this new project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and or fast forward the video in a couple places because I don't want to show you absolutely everything, like loading all the sprites. I'll do it with one of them. I'll do it with one with an object just to make sure that you are got the review for that. And then all the other ones I will fast forward through or just skip. So, create a new drag and drop project. I'm going to call this Brick Breaker. Lesson 2. Brick Breaker. This is good. This is good television. Okay, and it'll fire up. So, first thing we're going to do is change the room. I like to right-click and rename my room, and I'm going to call it Level 1. As always. Again, rooms can be used for not just levels. They could be used for title screens, additional screens as well, but generally speaking, that's what we use it for. And you can also have multiple rooms in a level depending on the style of your game. Okay, so the width and height, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create something that's similar to what I had showed you on the screen. So I got 768 tall. I'm going to go with the 640 wide, and then I will use my mouse wheel to zoom out. Sorry, control mouse wheel to zoom out. There we go. And I think what I'm doing, I'm going to go to my background, and I'm going to pick a background color, and maybe I'll pick like a dark red or something. We'll see how that goes with my spray. Oops, that was a white. That was not very effective. And there we go. And click OK. Now I've got this dark red. Okay. Again, when you do this, you're going to be on the background layer, so it's important you're going to switch back your instances layer a little bit later on when we're ready, but might as well do it from the beginning. Okay, so reminder, what you do is you're going to create sprites. The sprites are the images, and then we're going to do the pictures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add sprites for, I believe it's 5 or 6 different objects. We'll show you in just in a minute again, but I'm going to just show you the process once, and then I'm going to fast forward through most of them except for one of them. So I'm going to create a sprite for to start with for my my ball and my bat, etc. So you want to go to your assets folder that you downloaded for the previous thing. And we're going to start with, we'll bring all the sprites in maybe right together, and then we'll show you how to do it real quick after. So I've got the bat. I'm going to have SPR bat, and I'm going to do a ball. I'm going to do the brick. The brick I'm going to edit a little bit once we get the brick in. I'm going to need to do the wall, and that might be it. So I'm going to pause the video. I'll add all those, and then you can just add them yourself afterwards. Okay, so I've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprites in total. A bat, and that's going to be the baton that we're going to use at the bottom of the thing. And so the sprite I use for that is just the blue bar. I'm going to leave that the way it is. I've got a wall. I decided to use a blue wall as well. And I've got a brick. There were 3 different bricks in the assets. I'm going to pick one. This is the one that we're going to find in a couple of minutes. The size isn't exactly right. So we're going to edit that here in a bit. I've got a fish. The fish is going to act as my ball, and my bling is going to act as my win, which is the money. So that's how things are going to work. The only thing I want to show you about is with the bricks. I want to show you about the editing of the image screen. And the image editor can be useful in a bunch of different ways. The one thing you'll notice right now is my width is 48 by 16. As I mentioned in the past, the standard grid size is 32 by 32. That's easily changeable in the room settings, but I like to leave it at that when I'm first learning. So I'm going to go on this one and the brick, and all 3 of my bricks, by the way, are 48 by 16. They're all 3 of my bricks are that. So there's all kinds of things you can change. There's drawing tools and things like that. What I simply want to do is I want to go to make this bigger. And the easiest way to go is to image, and then resize all frames. So that means like if you had an animation, it would make them all big at the same time. And all I want to do with this is I want to make it a full 64 wide as opposed to 52 wide. It's just going to stretch it. So I'm going to turn off maintain aspect ratio because I don't mind the height of 16, and I'm simply going to make this 64 and hit apply, and it just makes it a little bit wider, and then that's all you have to do, and then we're ready to rock. And if you close this window here, it takes you back to the main thing, and now you can see 64 by 16. Okay, that's it. All right, so next steps we're going to do is we're going to start adding the objects. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add them as I need them as opposed to do it off screen. And again, though, you're welcome to fast forward if you get it, but there are obviously, these are where we're going to put all the specific objects and actions. I'm going to minimize the sprite block and get that out of my way as well. And that little down arrow allows you to kind of get those out, or I could drag it over and close it temporarily if I want to as well, but I won't worry about that. Okay, so first thing I'm just going to work with my wall to get that set up. So I'm going to right click and create object. I'm going to call it obj wall. Don't forget that one of the most important things you can do, especially early when you're learning, is make all your objects solid. And so that's something we're going to do. And we'll pick the wall sprite. And that's all we're going to do with the wall. But in a minute, I'm going to add that to the room. So I might as well do that right now. This is where that visible setting is. So if you want to put your wall inside your room and make it invisible, then you could see your ball kind of get close to the edge and bounce, which might look okay. But I think it might be better to go all the way up to the edge of the wall to bounce off itself. So let's do that. Let's go to the room. And I'm going to add this to the outside of the wall. Now, I don't want it along the bottom, because that's how I'm going to lose the game. I just want to add these on the side. So first of all, make sure I'm on the instance layer. Yes, I am. Go grab the OBJ wall. And remember, you can hit Alt and hold the Alt key down. Hold your mouse down. Oops, that was terrible. I'm going to have to delete those. And drag those like that. Get them all down. Do the same thing across the top. And again, holding the Alt key down. Holding the mouse as I go down will do that. Okay. All right. Now I'll just clean that up. It's not that. Ooh, Control Z. See, that does that. I think I have them all selected still. Okay. Delete. Delete. There used to be a shortcut, and there probably still is for massive deleting. I don't know what that is, so I'll have to do it myself. Okay. So there's my wall. No big deal. Now we're ready. Now, so the wall is simple. Let's get the ball going. So what I want to do is, my ball was giving my fish. So I used the fish sprite, but I'm going to create a object to represent the ball in the game. So even though the sprite is a fish, sorry, that I just want to go right down there, right click, create object. We're going to call it the ball. So the idea is when I'm you might pick a different sprite, but if we always call it the same thing as far as the object goes, then we know things are going to be fine. Again, make it solid. All right, so we're going to do a few things like we did last time. We're going to set it to create event, and we're going to get it going in a random direction, and then we're going to get it to bounce off the walls, and then we'll get it to deal with what happens if it leaves the room, if it goes off the floor, right? And so you lose. So we're going to add event. That's going to be the create event. It should set up our events window. There it is. Again, for the moment, I don't need my room, so I'm going to close the room editor. It gives me a little bit more space. I can make this a little bit smaller too. Okay. Yeah, that works. All right. So we want to get it moving. So I go to the move actions is the easiest way to do this, and set direction variable. So what we're going to do is we're going to randomize again. If you remember from last time, it's kind of similar. The idea of the randomization is we want it to kind of be, you know, a range of values going up. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, I want it to be at least 45, maybe a little bit more, maybe at least 50 degrees, and go all the way over to like 120 degrees. So what we'll say is we're going to start with 50, but then we're going to say plus random, and we'll do random now. If I want from 50 to 120, random 70. I think the 120 number works nicely. So that works. Now remember though, what we found is that it always starts at the same randomization. So that's just an interesting little feature in GameMaker that I went and found out about. I don't know why they chose to do that, but I believe if you right click this and I was going to duplicate it. Where is it? Can't find it. Oh, sorry, just simply right copy and paste. That was easier than I thought. It's going to re-randomize it immediately thereafter and then it goes. That seems to work all right. The ball speed is a little bit up to you. You can decide what you want to do. You can decide later on if you want the ball to get faster or not. I'm going to give it a speed of, I mean, 3, so let's go with a speed of 4 and we'll see how that works. Okay, now, so that's the collision, sorry, that's the create event. Get it randomizing, but we have to do it twice because of the silly random setting, and then set its speed in that direction. The second event we want to add is the collision event. Again, we did this last time, but here's a collision event with a wall, and we want to use that execute code. Now, here's one of the interesting things. Is that I've created in my document some help files. For those of you that are doing this in my class, you have a bit of a help file that has the execute code segments in it. I'm just going to show that to you, my students, right now. So here is the document that I produced that kind of walks you through these lessons for my students. They're taking this during these closures of spring 2020, so there's a few bit of specific things. But at the end, you'll see there's appendix 2 script used in the code, and so you can see that there's the bounce code. We're going to use that right now. There's the show debug message. We're going to use that in a few minutes, and there's also a pop-up we're going to use as well. So I'm going to copy the move bounce solid and go back to my thing, and it's called execute code. I usually just type code. There it is. So we want to execute code, and we want to paste in that bounce code. There it is. Move bounce solid is false. Okay, so that's the first thing. So bounce off the wall, and actually that's fine for a moment. Let's just go make sure that's working. So that because now we'll test to see if it works. So now when we do this, some of you are going to catch that I've already made a quick little mistake, because when I run my room, there's nothing in my room. I forgot to put the ball in it. So let's go back to the room. Drag in the ball. Put it somewhere down low at first. Maybe there. Yeah, let's go a little lower than that. Maybe down there. And now we can hit play. And hopefully our fish ball starts bouncing. And that's moving pretty good. There we go. It's bouncing off those walls, and it should go off the screen and keep going. It's going on forever. It's down in my basement, so we'll have to track that right away. So let's do that next. So the next part is we're going to use an event we've not used before. It's called outside room. So when this object leaves the room, what to do? So I deliberately left that room, that bottom bar empty, so we're going to let it leave the room. And there is something called outside room. You find it under the other submenu, so add event, other, and then you choose outside room. And what do we want it to do? Well, we want it to lose a life. So we're going to work with lives here in just a moment. But at first, what we're going to do is we're going to get it to pop up a message. And that is also under execute code. So we're going to execute code. And the line of code that we're going to execute, why this defaults off to the left is beyond me. Maybe if I get rid of that, that might be better. Okay. Let me go back to my little doc. And this is it here. Show message. So this is not the console. This is going to pop up a little window. So one of the things you might find if you are pasting out of other docs is the quotation marks might not come in properly. So if yours doesn't work right the first time, that might be the cause of the error. I had that issue before. Yeah, you see how my little quotes are a little bit off, and it's giving me an error. So often you have to go back if you're copying and pasting and fix those quotes into the standard ones. Okay, now let's run that again. And of course, it's going to tell me 1 life lost right away, and then we have to deal with that life. So we're going to use, in a moment, the built-in lives variable. Later on, we'll figure out how to determine if there's no more lives with game over. Actually, no, I'll show you how to do that right away as well. Okay, so 1 life lost, clicked OK, but actually things are still going to go. So we need to do a few more things when 1 life is lost. So first thing we'll do is let's actually lose a life. Now, we can't lose a life unless we have a life. So in a minute or two, I'm going to have to go back and add some lives to my create event. So I'm going to do a live, and there it is right there. So this is hard, set lives. Okay, so we're going to pop that down here, and we're going to set lives to be -1 relative. Remember that relative is change the state of something by some amount. So in this case, we're changing the state of the lives variable by -1. So we'll have to start with our lives as set as a 2 or 3 or whatever we want to begin with. Okay, so that's the first thing, set lives. The second thing, I guess. First thing is to pop up a message. Second thing is to set lives -1. And then we want the ball to kind of restart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the create event. I'm going to copy the code I have there, paste it into here. You'll see that works pretty good. But while I'm there, I'm going to create my lives. So lives, set lives. I'm going to maybe do that at the beginning so that I can copy and paste a little bit easier. And I will set lives to, let's just set it to 2 just for starting, for quick testing. If you set your lives too high, then you have to lose several times for it to see it in action. Okay, so set lives is 2. Now we want to then copy, and you can hit Control, click to copy more than one thing. So I clicked on set direction because I want, maybe I didn't make this obvious. I'm going to get the ball to restart, and so I want it to re-randomize as well. So I want that. And then I hit Control and I click that, so you can sort of select it, and then you can copy, go to outside room, and paste. Ta-da! Now we've got that. So that doesn't help us if the ball isn't back in its original position. So we're going to go to another move action, and one of the move actions is jump to start. So I will jump the ball to start as well. In fact, I think I might put it there before the direction just to make sure it jumps and then it sets. Okay. So last thing we want to do before we move on to before we can leave outside room is we have to say what happens if we are dead, if we have no more lives. So if you go back to lives, you can see there is a if lives if statement. And I'm going to drag it. I might as well put it there right after I set lives so that it doesn't do the rest. And I'm going to say if lives is, I like to say less than or equal to 0, then we want to do something. Now, the graphics are a little bit odd in this. It shows if lives, then it's going to jump to this. But and then it says the if statement is empty because we haven't told it what to do if lives is equal to 0. So what we're going to do is we're simply going to end our game. And there's an action called game. And if we hit end game, exit game, I guess it's called, and you click and drag that, and you drag it beside the if statement, so you can see it kind of indents it. I hate this interface. I think if they're going to do that, I wish they'd line up all these on the left and then just indent that on the right. But the way that you read this is if lives do this, otherwise continue on down the code is how this is read. Yeah, there is an else statement, by the way, for those of you that know code and want to do an if else. Not important for this particular thing. Okay, so let's see if this works. So let's make sure we got it good. So when we leave the room, we're going to have a message pop up. You'll see how that plays out in a second. We're going to set lives to be -1 relative. If that lives is now less than or equal to 0, we're going to exit game. Otherwise, we're going to jump the ball to start. We're going to set the direction variable and set the speed again of the ball. Now we're all in the ball right now, object ball event, so all these things apply to the ball. Jump to start applies to the ball, set direction applies to the ball, outside room applies to the ball. Let's give it a try. Again, it's going to take 2 lives to die. So let's make sure that is working. There is live 1, so there's my pop-up message, 1 life lost. Click OK. And so I easily could add under that if statement another pop-up that says game over instead of this, for example. But you see the idea, right? If I wanted to, I could have, where did that pop up? The pop-up was first. I could have the pop-up after the if statement, so it only shows up if lives are lost, and pop up something different, for example. Okay. You could even write if statement in code if you wanted to. Say if lives are greater than 0, print this, else print you lose, right? You can do that as well. Okay, let's get the next thing going. I'm going to create the bling object and the brick object. I'm going to just do them real quick. Down here, create object. My bling object is going to be my next level object. So we could call it, leave it being called bling, or we could say obj next level. And of course, we're not going to have a next level, but I want to show you how to make this work. I'm going to make this solid, don't forget, and we're not going to have any events at all to that. So now that I've done that, I'm going to hit close. So again, obj next level, solid, choose your middle thing. We'll show you 2 different ways to change the levels in a minute. Then we're going to right click, create object, and let's get the bricks going. Again, make sure they're solid because we're going to use that bounce that says only bounce on solid. Okay. All right. All the actions are going to happen inside the ball. So let's go back to the ball. So we'll start with the collide with the brick. We'll deal with the bling, the change objects in a minute. So add event, change room object. Collision with brick. All right. So when we collide with the brick, we want a couple things to happen. One, we want the ball to bounce. We're going to have to add that execute ball code. Second thing is we want the brick to disappear. So they call that a destroy action. So what we're going to do, though, is you probably need to execute the bounce before you do the destroy, because otherwise there's nothing to bounce off of. Sometimes GameMaker will be okay with it being out of order, but otherwise it might not be. So we need to go back and execute some code. Let's get this so you can see better. Execute code. Go grab that bounce. Do I still have it pasted? No, I don't, because I pasted it off the other one. So let's go move bounce solid. There we go. Okay, and now we want it to destroy the brick. Now this is something you have to watch carefully because it's not intuitive the way this is going to work. So first of all, there is a destroy action, so we definitely want that. Now you may have also noticed there's a destroy event. The destroy event is an event that happens when this thing gets destroyed. You can use it on occasion, but generally there's not much need for it unless you want to kind of trigger a whole bunch of things when something gets destroyed. So for example, it could be like you could trigger like a change of sprite into an explosion animation or whatever. That's not what we're going to do right now. What we're doing is we're going to simply destroy the brick. So when I type destroy, there it is, destroy instance or destroy a position. Don't worry about the differences. There's other kinds of things down here that are kind of fun. Particle systems, destroy instance. So I'm going to pull that down. And you'll notice that it just does nothing. There's no extra options or nothing, which makes sense. But there's a problem. Right now, by default, the action applies to what's called the self, meaning that the ball is colliding with the brick. So therefore, it's going to destroy the self. It's going to destroy the ball. We want it to not destroy the ball. We want it to destroy the brick. So there's a couple ways you can do it. One of the ways would be is I could create that collision event in the brick. Say when the brick collides with the ball, destroy self. But I prefer to keep most of my actions and events in one kind of central location. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little down triangle here, and it pops up this window. And you can see there are a bunch of options. Now, the first thing you might want to try is just grab object brick. And if you do, it'll work sort of, but what this one actually means, it means destroy all bricks. So in other words, when we hit 1, they'd all be destroyed. That's not what we want. What we actually want is other. Oops, I'll go back to that so you can see it. So other means that whatever I've collided with, don't destroy the self. So here's my ball. The ball's coming up. Don't destroy self. Destroy the other, so the brick. Okay. All right. There we go. And then that is actually it. If we wanted to add a score, we could add a score right now, but I'm not going to do that with this particular version of the game. So let's go to the level. Let's go add some bricks. Now, eventually, I want to have that brick in the middle. So I'm going to, there we go. Oh, dunk, dunk, dunk. I'm going to have my my bling brick in the middle. Maybe I'll just do something like that. And we'll keep it really simple at first so we can get access to that. Whoops. Bring bling brick quickly. circle there. I think I may have deleted it, put in a couple extras there. The one thing you want to avoid doing is maybe stacking them up. It's easy to make that mistake. So if you're having your code seem like it's acting weird, it might be you have two of the same object stacked on top of each other. So just be aware of that. It's a possibility. Maybe I'll put those there and there and there. And now I've got myself a little wall. So that looks terrible. So let's get rid of that there and put it there. And maybe while I'm at it, I'll pull in my next room object and put that somewhere in the middle. Okay, so nice and simple. The game obviously you can make this as complicated as you want it. All right, let's play. Now remember, we don't have anything with the money yet. And we don't have a bat, of course, either. So that's the next step. That one's easy, though. But new. Gonna have to work with key press events, and we're gonna have to work with other things too. Okay, there goes my ball. Dunk. Oh, I like it. Dunk. Dunk. Looks good. Okay, so that worked. That did exactly what we wanted to do. Perfect. All right, let's go with the brick. We're actually almost done, and then we'll go with the money. So the brick. We need the baton. New object. Create object. Obj bat or baton, whatever you want to call it. Okay, make it solid. Now, we do need some events with this because this is the thing we're going to control with the keyboard. So we're going to add event. We're going to say key pressed. So I recommend use key pressed for this. You can also do key down. Remember last time there was mouse press and different things like that, or left button, left press, things like that. So I'm going to just use key pressed. And I'm going to pick the left arrow. And when I press the left arrow, I simply need to go to the move and get it moving. And because I'm only moving it directly left, I can pick this easy direction. Just go think like that and give it a speed. Let's say maybe, I don't know, 4 as well. Maybe 3. Let's try 3. Okay. Now, once you've got it working in that direction, so I'm going to go left and I'm going to set speed to be 3. You can actually right-click your event over here on the left and say duplicate event. And when you do that, it duplicates all the events in action. So if you get a whole bunch of things, this will be simple. There's only 2 things. It probably would have been just easy to do this. But so I went right-click, duplicate event. And now I can say go back to key press and choose the right arrow. And the only thing I have to change, and you see it copied everything. There's my left, there's my right. The only thing I have to change is the direction. Okay? The other thing I want to do before I go close out of this, though, is I need to stop it when it hits the wall. So I could either have it to bounce, but I like to have it stop. So I'm going to go add event collision with the wall. And I'm simply going to give it a speed. There's my set speed still up here and recently used of 0. Ta-da! Let's go to room. Bring in my bat. Somewhere down, maybe like there. Depends on what looks good for you. Maybe a little bit lower. And let's play. First thing I'll do right away is I'll test my, there's my left arrow key, it stops. There's my right arrow key, so that's looking pretty good. It stops, and I think we got ourselves a game. Let's see if we've got this. Oh, we haven't done this yet, have we? Aha, we forgot our bounce action. Okay, so the bounce action, you can decide what you want to do, but remember the execute code affects the existing thing. So you actually can sometimes do it in both if you want to kind of, once in a while you'll find the ball can get like locked in to a sprite. So you might actually want to put the execute in both, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to put it in the ball. So I'll go back to my ball. That's the trick. Where's my ball object? Let's go over here. Ball object. There we are. Add event. Collide with... oh, actually, we could do a... Do we have a collision? Execute bounce? Oh, yeah. The object wall. We could just need a bounce, right? So we could right-click that and say duplicate event. And say collision with the bat. Because we simply want to bounce off the bat. Okay. All right. Now let's see if we can get this game playing. We're almost there. We just need to figure out how to go to the next level. What are we at for time? Oh, half hour right now. It's a long one, but once you've got this done, you're in pretty good shape. All right. I'm going to have to change my... It's still randomizing the same direction, I think, every time. Darn you, GameMaker. There we go. Okay, now we're cooking. Right? All right. So the last thing I want to do is get it to change level. So there's two ways you might want to get it to change level. So I'm just going to let it run again. Oh, let's see if I can get it. Oh, no, too late. So one is, of course, to have it hit the object. So I'll show you that option. The other thing you can do is to figure out how many bricks. Like make sure you have no bricks left. Okay, so there's two different ways. So I'm just going to pause the video. I'm going to check on one little quick thing before I do that last little bit. Okay, because we're at the half-hour mark, I'm just going to show you the simplest way to do it. There's a way that you could use the score variable. So you could say that every time the ball collides with a brick, you add 1 to the score, and then you test the score variable. See if the score is greater than blank, then you know that you have no more bricks left, and so you can go to the next room. The other thing is there is some code that you can do that actually counts the number of instances of a brick. So you can sort of execute code and say if the number of bricks is equal to 0, then do something as well. So there's a couple different ways you can handle it. But we're just going to leave that for you to try to figure out on your own. We're just going to do the simplest way to save ourselves some time. So I'm still in my ball. I'm going to say add event, collision with the next level object. And we have to decide what we want to do. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to go to the next level, even though there isn't one. Sorry, it's next room. So if you type the room, you can see that there is a go to next room. There is a go to previous room. There is go to a specific room. If you have a whole bunch of rooms, you can say restart the room. You can say if room is the last room, you can get it to do one thing. Otherwise, you can get it to do something else, right? So you can say if this is the last room, you say you win. Otherwise, why don't we try that? Let's do that. So if room is last, okay, then let's do that execute code where we pop up a window. Okay, I'm going to pop it there. And that execute code was on my dock. Show message that says you win. You've beaten the game. There's nothing left to do. Again, you'll have to change those quotes, so I'm going to just retype that entirely. You have beaten the game. Okay, so that is if this is the last room. Otherwise, we want to print something else. So I'm going to go and there is an else statement. There it is there. And so you pull the else statement in to, oh, sorry, I may have to change my layout a little bit here. There we go. Else. And you can see it ties itself to there, and it's empty. So the else is the execute code. Actually, we can copy this if we want. Copy. Paste. It may not paste originally into the right spot. It did not. That's hard to tell. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the way they interface this, so I'm going to pull that into there. You can see it's popping in beside there, and now it's that. And we want to say else moving to level 2 or whatever, which of course we don't have. So moving, so we haven't actually have a level 2 to go with, but level 2 could even just be an empty room. So maybe I'll show you that in both cases. So why don't I do that? I'm going to right click here. I'm going to say create room. There's my room 1. I'm going to change that to, rename that to be, oops, it's not fitting. Oh, it's ready to let me rename, so level 2, even though we have nothing in level 2. Okay, now just be aware it's going to play the rooms in this order. So if you have it out of order, it'll play them out of order. At least I believe it does. Or does it play the one I have selected? And oh, good. Okay, so it plays them in that order. So again, if I touch the money object, then I have won the game. And because I do have another room, it's going to say go to the next room. And then, of course, nothing is there, so we can't do anything about it. Oh. Come on, I'm in the money. Oh, here we go. It's going to get there for sure. Oh, no, it's not. This is where time-lapse would be better. But I'm lazy, and you can watch this on your own. Oh, man. Oh, lost a life. Now I better not die, otherwise I'm definitely going to have time-lapse it. Jupiter's ghost. Here we go. Here we go. Ta-da! Moving to level 2. Moving to level 2. Uh-oh! I made a big error. So what happened? Well, I'm locked in a forever loop here. So I've told it to put this up whenever I'm colliding, but I forgot to actually move to level 2. So I have to close that up. I got to go back to that event. Now where was that? That was under ball. That was silly of me, because in either case, I either need to end the game if you've beaten the game, or I have to actually go to the next room. So I got to go to let's do the end game one first. There's the end game. So I have to pull that underneath my if statement. Hopefully this will show up in the right spot. Oh man, this is going to be hard for you guys to see. So there's my room is, if room is last, show you've been beaten the game and then exit the game. Else, moving to next level. And then I want to actually go to the next room. Go to next room. Make sure, again, that's under the else statement, not on its own. And finally, we can do this. I'm going to go to my level 1 and make this easier to win. It seems like it always goes random the same way, so I'm going to get rid of that top bar, and hopefully it'll work the first time we play it. Moving to level 2, and there we are. Empty room, of course, but it's working. All right, so you now have a lot of basics. You know how to work with some score from last time. You know how to do a bunch of different collision events. You know how to destroy things. You know how to work the key presses. You know how to work the mouse presses. You actually have quite a lot of background, enough for you to go and experiment. You're going to see that I'm going to assign to my students a little Pong-style game that allows you to kind of really test your skills. But otherwise, you can just start experimenting until next week's video, when we're going to look at shooting, and also some ways to improve the visuals just a little bit. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good one.